Okay, so we finished Majjat Kamesha Manasa, the flow of smile in meditation, right? That one. Okay, and we also talked about the importance of spousal relationship in this particular namam and how smile works in that. Did we already talk about that?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think we did that,
I
Guruji.
know I don't.
Okay, so we'll just, do that and then we'll go into the next namam. So the reason why they actually bring Kamesha right into this one, this namam, is that Mandasmita Prabhapura. There are multiple reasons, right? Here they are saying with that smile, like, we've seen how the Dvija Pankti Dvayojvala, so we talked about that and how many ways of Shuddha Vidya that we are learning through this. And then how the fragrance of mother's the tambulam that she's having, how it is filled in the universe. But it is also, we talked about the next one, the kachapi part, where we are able to bring the when mother speaks or when the knowledge comes flows to us, how it is lot more melodious than anything else in the world. And this is when we actually hear about the mandasmitam, the gentle smile that mother is showing. And here they actually say, why did they bring Kamesha? And there is a whole description about it on the importance of smile in a, spousal relationship, how a person needs to calm the other person and not aggravate each other. So I don't know how more to describe it. So we in even in the previous Vishnu Sahasranama we were talking about it, right? So when we get bound by people and that we have karma bandhas with, and then we tend to be really good because we are now working. We can just be whatever we want to say in an office, in a professional setting. We are very professional, and we deal with our kids and all of those irritations on the road, whatever. And there is this one person we believe, and there is a saying um, in Telugu called Bharinchivadu Bharta, if anybody remembers and knows that. Somebody who bears and tolerates everything is the husband, and it probably equally applies to wife as well. And here they describe that the most important thing that you can give a spouse is a smile, and that the solace and consolation. And as soon as they say mother's smile is what moved Kamesha, it reminds every spouse to have that same kind of smile. And it also generates that bondage, that no, not the bondage, not the right word. The such, though it is like, what do you call that? In the Ardhanarishwara form, we are seeing both mother and father together. And how do you implement that same kind of a relationship in your lives as well, is how Bhaskara Raya describes it. So I'll probably find a little more of an, a translation. I'll translate from Sanskrit. It is not in my English notes. I'll just translate it and I'll send that around. But think about the importance of smile in a spousal relationship. And the second meaning, that is the secret meaning that is given here, is in order to find Shiva, so the Satchidananda Parabrahman, you can find it in mother's smile. And every time we meditate, we relax and we say prana, do the pranayama, and just hold the breath for a few minutes, like in all the Rechaka, Kumbhaka, all the practices that we do. But we say without smiling, bring that radiance of a smile from behind. Like, your heart should be in that moment of Satchidanandam, and which actually generates a smile, relaxing all the face muscles. So there is a meditation aspect that's also given here, is how he explains it. Sorry, I need to mute someone. Sorry, could you please mute yourself if you're unmuted by mistake? Okay. So they also talk about Mano Nigraham and Indriya Nigraham to be the Ananda Lakshanam, which is the Shama Dama that we were talking about in Bhagavad Gita class yesterday. And then the aspect of Samayacharam, where Samatvamai Samayam, where Shiva Shakti Samanvitam, or the importance of both of them together, that Samayachara Bhavam is very important. So here there is an explanation that's given. Everyone wants Shakti in the form of Aishwarya, Jnana, or Vak Shakti. Shows Shakti is the mother herself, and she is Ishvara's Shakti, right? No, she is not separate from him. So how can you separate from? So if you see Shakti, you also know that there is Ishvara, and if you see Ishvara, you also know that there is Shakti. And how do you say that? If you're seeing light, you also know that there is a source of light, and that's where they bring it into the Prakasha Vimarsha concept. Again, there is a Deepam. That's why there is light. If you see light, you can interpret there is a Deepam. If you see a Deepam, you also know that it is casting the light around you. So those are the three different aspects of this namam that we might have not spoken about last week. Now we'll move into the next nama. And did we do this sloka? Can anybody remind me, please? The next one, sloka 12.
I don't think we did it.
Okay, so
No, we didn't do it. We didn't do it, Guruji.
okay, so we'll look at that sloka first, and then we'll look at the meanings. And there are a few aspects of the spousal relationship that are going to come in the next few namas. So we'll look at that, and we'll look at the esoteric meanings as well for those. So Anakalita Sadrisya Chubuka Shri Virajita. So here they are talking about mother's chin. Then Kamesha Baddha Mangalya Sutra Shobhita Kanthara. Here they are talking about the kantham, the neck. So pretty straightforward. There are no visargas or anything like that. So we'll just chant the sloka. So I'll chant it twice, and whoever wants to chant after me, we'll just do a revision 2 times.
Sorry, Shriji,
Go ahead.
are there two namas in this, or are we splitting it up?
No, there are 2
Yes.
namas. Each line is a single namam.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think there is one where there is Guda Gulpa Kurm Prishta only in the 18th line, where we will have 2 different namas in that second line of the 18th sloka. Otherwise, they're all single namas. Okay. Anakalita Sadrishya Chubuka Shri Virajita Kamesha Baddha Mangalya Sutra Shobhita Kandhara. So that's the sloka. Who would like to chant after me? Or chant with me, sorry.
Can. Guruji, Sujata here.
Awesome. Namaste, Sujata ji. So we'll do the quartlets first, and then we'll do the full sloka. Anakalita Sadrishya.
Anakalita Sadrishya.
Somebody else is also chanting off mute. Could you please mute yourself? Chubuka Shri Virajita
Shubhuka Shri Virajita.
Kamesha Baddha Mangalya
Kamesha Baddha Mangalya.
Sutra Shobhita Kandhara.
Sutra Shobhita Kandhara.
Yeah, the bhi is the short hrasva bhi, not dirgham. It's also like, very important to notice some things like that, but that's okay how we chant this. The the is a small, like the first alpa prana the, followed by the emphasis is the second the mahaprana the. And it could be the reverse and various formats of shlokas that we get, but here just keep a note of that. So we'll do the quartlets one more time.
What
Ana,
line is it? What
the
number?
the 12th sloka. I was just talking about the first word of the second line. Kamesha Baddha. The dha. So the way it would be chanted, if it was like, as precise as Vedam chanting. Kamesha Baddha. Not Baddha. Did I make any sense when I said that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kamesha Baddha Mangalya Sutra Shobhita Kanthara. That's how it gets chanted.
You know, I just have one doubt. I thought last class we were on sloka 5 or 6, right?
That might be in our chanting classes.
Oh, so, oh, I see. Okay.
No worries. Yeah, this one is like, where we chant the sloka and we learn the meanings. And in chanting classes, we're just going into the details of how to chant each of these slokas, right? So that's why I know it gets confusing.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so we'll chant this one more time, Sujata ji. We'll do the quartlets again. Anakalita sadrishya
Anakalita sadrishya
chubuka shri virajita
Chubuka Shri Virajita
kamesha baddha mangalya
Kamesha Baddha Mangalya
sutra shobhita kandhara.
Sutra Shobhita Kandhara
It's shobhita, not shobhita.
Sutra Shobhita Kandhara.
Yeah, you got it. Thank you. So we'll do the full sloka now. Anakalita sadrishya chubuka shri virajita kamesha baddha mangalya sutra shobhita kandhara.
Anakalita Sadrushya Chubuka Shri Virajita Kamesha Baddha Mangalya Sutra Shobhita Kandhara.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Guruji, one doubt. This
Sure.
is Sudha.
Sure.
In my book, it says Chibuka Shri. Is it Chibu or Chubu?
Chubuku. Chubuka.
Chubu.
Yeah.
Okay, thank
Chubuka
you.
means chin. Thank you. So, do we want to do one more sloka and then look for learn meanings for all four at the same time? That'd be better. I think that would be better.
Yeah.
Yes, Guruji.
Okay. So we'll look at the next sloka as well. Kanakangada Keyura Kamaniya Bhujanvita. So Bhu is the only Mahaprana in the whole line. Then Ratna Graiveya Chintaka Lola Mukta Phalanvita. This is a fantastic namam. We'll go into the deeper meanings for this one. Ratna Graiveya Chintaka Lola Mukta Phalanvita. Here it's not fa, it's pa, the emphatic pa, not the regular pa. So yeah, I think there is Ratna Graiveyaka. And Kamaniya Bhu, the second Mahaprana Bhu, Janvita. Okay, we'll chant this sloka. Who would like to chant with me?
And
Awesome.
Sudhaji.
Sudhaji. So we'll do the quartlets and then we'll go to the full sloka.
Mhm.
So there are 8 namas in total, Guruji?
No, it's only like 2 namas. The first line is one namam, the second line is one namam. I was just breaking it as to just to familiarize with you the words with you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Kanakangada Keyura
Kanakangada Keyura
Kamaniya Bhujanvita
Kamaniya Bhujanvita
Ratnagraiveya Chintaka
Ratnagraiveya Chintaga
the
Chintaka
yeah, Lola Mukta Phalanvita.
Lola Mukta Phalanvita.
Awesome. We'll do it one more time. Kanakangada Keyura
Kanakangada Keyura
Kamaniya Bhujanvita
Kamaniya Bhujanvita
Ratnagraiveya Chintaka
Ratnagraiveya Chintaka
Lola Mukta Phalanvita.
Lola Mukta Phalanvita.
Awesome. We'll do the full sloka once. Kanakangada Keyura Kamaniya Bhujanvita Ratnagraiveya Chintaka Lola Mukta Phalanvita.
Kanagangada Keyura Kamaniya Bhujanvita रत्नग्रैवेयचिन्ताकलोलमुक्ता
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well done, Sudhaji. And everybody, I'm just going to remind that these slokas are not supposed to be broken into two parts in each of the lines that we generally do in Bhagavad Gita. That would not be applicable here because this is a one full namam, so it should not have any pauses in between. Okay, now we'll look at the meanings. So we are looking at the Anakalita Sadrishya Chubukasri Virajita. So here we are talking about mother's chin that cannot be compared to anything else in the universe. So Shankaracharya says chin is so only Shankaracharya does a comparison because here Vagdevis are saying it cannot be compared. Anakalita Sadrishya. So the Chubukam Sadrishyam is there is no similarity, and Anakalita there is no similarity to chin. There is no metaphor that we can or simile that we can provide for this. But only Shankaracharya says it's like the handle of a mirror where I'm actually seeing my reflection by holding the chin, and the face is the mirror. He also says, in your younger years, Himavan held it, and then Shiva holds it now. So the way this has been interpreted, and also actually have to mention that the chin is taken as the trikonam, the bottommost, the bottom apex of the trikonam in Sri Chakram. So this one here. So this is the central triangle, right? So in Sri Chakram, we say the point. There are five. Downward facing triangles and 4 upward facing triangles. We call the upward facing triangles as Shiva and 5 downward facing triangles as the mother. And we generally face Sri Chakram. If you happen to have a Sri Chakram, make sure that this triangle that is here, it is pointing towards you, that it is a downward facing triangle. And we say that mother's chin is equivalent to the point here. I hope that was clear when I was showing it. I don't know how it was on the camera. So it is it has various connotations, interpretations, because the triangle just before the bindu is where the Shiva Shakti Aikyam happens, where Shakti is actually meeting with Shiva, which generally did we talk about Shiva Shakti and why Shakti? Okay, maybe I did not. I'll just briefly mention it. So in the manifested universe, when the universe was created, Shiva Shakti were together until that point, and then the universe was created, and both Shiva Shakti are in the universe. It's not that Shiva is there and Shakti is here, but the differentiation is there is consciousness and then there is the matter energy that are coexisting in this format. And the way they say it, matter and energy, through Maya, through her own Maya. So all of us go into this Maya concept and we forget where we actually came from. And through Shakti alone, we can go and merge back into Shiva, the consciousness. So whether it is our personal sadhana, personal travel, or the moksha mukti, which is the videha mukti, once I die, where I go, that also is dependent on how on this transformation or this transition between where I am and how mother brings me back to consciousness, the Shiva aspect of which is the father aspect. And I might have told the story, and I sometimes keep forgetting which class I'm telling what story. So there is a story that one of the Pravachana Kartas in Telugu actually describes it as. He says, when there is a baby, and the baby is playful, he's doing his stuff and he's just enjoying his toys. The father is watching TV or reading a newspaper, and the mother is busy in the kitchen doing something. And the baby is happy. As long as things are happy and playing, the baby is fine, and everybody is busy with their own stuff. As soon as the baby soils its diapers, and then it's very comfortable and it's starting to cry, they say the father immediately doesn't rush to go pick up the baby. It's usually, he shouts out to the mother, and mother is the one who picks up the baby despite, with the soiled diapers, and with a smile, and he consoles the child. She picks her up, or picks the baby up, and takes and washes it, puts on clean clothes, and then makes the baby laugh, tickles, and just plays with the baby for a bit. And then the father is like, oh, give the baby to me now, I'll take care, and so you can go and take care of what you are doing in the kitchen. So the way he explains it is, it's similar to that. When we are in this world, when everything is going awesomely well, then we are happy with what's going on, and we don't necessarily think of either the mother or the father. So we are in our own happy, enjoying mood. And when things start becoming, as we grow older, it could be the health, it could be anything else, like various things that happen, that our toys are not working really well. If something like that happens, then we give out a loud cry, and only then we see reaction from both the mother and the father. But the mother is the one that actually comes, picks us up, purifies our mind, and gets us prepared for doing all the sadhana, just cleans us up, and brings back that smile, the atma jnanam, that's what they say, like where we understand that nothing that is around us should be affecting us. And we talked about uparati and titiksha yesterday in the Gita class. So she brings us those aspects of sadhana, and the sadhana chatushtaya, sadhana sampatti, the four aspects of viveka, vairagya, and all of those that Shankaracharya talks about. So she brings those qualities in us, and when we are ready with a purified mind, then we are ready to merge with consciousness. I hope that analogy made sense to you as much as it made sense to me when I heard it. So, what here we are hearing is that merger needs to happen, because Shakti has, the separation is not the word, so I don't want to use the wrong terms. Shakti and Shiva are not as merged as it is in the Sahasrara Chakram, or the center of the Bindu in the Sri Chakram. And how do we get back there is the reverse engineering process, and what reminds us in the Sri Chakra itself that we are hanging somewhere outside in the outer circles, and how do we get it's inside. It's almost like playing Ludo. So here, holding that handle, you can see your reflection, because mother's face is the reflection, and Chubukam, the chin, is that aspect. So we actually say the three Devi names that we give for the central triangle is the Mahakameshwari, Mahavajreshwari, and Mahabhagamalini. So Mahakameshwari is at the chin, and praying to the Kameshwari, which is the Kameshwara's aspect, Kameshwara's Shakti, will get us to the consciousness. I hope that made sense. It was a long explanation for the namam. The next namam is Kamesha Baddha Mangalya Sutra Shobhita Kanthara. So Kanthara means something that is worn on the neck. Kanthe dhara is Kandhara. So what is she wearing in the neck? So now they're describing the neck. Oh yeah, one aspect. Sorry, before I go into this namam, I have to remind you that there is an important mantra on the third or the fourth level of Sri Vidya called as Panchadasi. And Panchadasi mantra has three sections to it. It's 15 syllabled mantra. So there are 5 syllables in the first one, and 6 syllables in the second namam, the second part of the mantra, and 4 syllables at the end. So mother's face is the Vagbhava Kutam, the first Kutam, or the first 5 syllables. And then the body part is the middle Kutam, or Madhyama Kutam, or we also call it as the Kamaraja Kutam. So that is the 6 syllabled part of the mantra. And then the lower body is the last Kutam, which is the Shakti Kutam. And as I mentioned, this description, Vagdevis are describing mother from Keshadi Padantam, basically starting from her hair. They are moving towards her feet, which is where we will see, the namas are coming very soon. So we are about to enter into the Kamaraja Kutam. Here, it's important to again remind ourselves of the Adhamadhikaris, the Madhyamadhikaris, and Uttamadhikaris. We are about to describe mother's feminine form, but what needs to keep on going in our heads is how to tie this into, because she is not a human being, and she is the universal, the Vishwa Vigraha is what we call the cosmic mother, and she doesn't have a shape or a form. She is the universe herself. So everything has to tie back into what is in the universe and how that applies to us and how we are about to take our journey towards meeting, like the Shiva Shakti Aikyam is the whole concept. So now the first part in the Kamaraja Kutam is the neck. So it says, in the neck is the Mangala Sutram tied by Kamesha himself. Just imagine that. And what they say is every Mangala Sutram, even in any Indian weddings, I think mostly South Indian weddings, there are 3 rounds of 9 threads. So 9 threads are taken, like how we do our sutras. There are 9 strings times 3 of those strings, which is equivalent to 27 nakshatras, and therefore there are 27 sutras representing the Kala Sankhya or Ayu. So so that is what getting tied as the Mangala Sutram, and this itself is being, for the mother, it's tied by Kamesha himself. So there are some jokes and what we call as the Chatu Shlokas. There are some nice Chatu Shlokas around these. So I'll just give you one example. So think about it like, the bride side and the bridegroom side. So the bride side says, when Shiva consumed the halahalam during the Ksheerasagara Mathanam, I hope everybody knows that story. It is the strength of mother's Mangala Sutram that has protected him, and your mother's Pativratyam that has saved him from that kind of a halahalam, that he could consume it and just make it stay in the throat so it doesn't get into his body. And the groom side actually says, the other way to look at it is because she is the Mrityunjaya's wife, therefore her Mangala Sutram tied by him is giving her unlimited Suhaga Saubhagyam. Did I make sense with that? At any point, just pause me because I tend to keep going a little fast. That's the feedback I keep giving myself. I don't give enough time for everybody to contemplate, so that's why I keep asking that question. So she is the Adi Suvasini, the married woman. She is the Adi for all of us. So this mantra gets used for the same, like to extend husband's life and maintaining the Pativrata Dharmam. So this namam gets chanted by anybody who wants that extension of the husband's life. And it is also chanted by unmarried girls to get a good husband. So when there is a mantra like that for any worldly reliefs, I actually will mention it if anybody wants to note that down. Then now Madhya Kutam. So we are talking about the next namam, which is Kanakangada Keyura Kamaniya Bhujanvita. Yeah. So what we wear in the forearms are called as Angadas, and what we wear here, the upper arms, there are ornaments that are worn here. Those are called as Keyuras. So both, from the forearm till the upper arm, she is wearing jewelry. So what kind of jewelry? It's all made of gold, and they are all looking fantastic just by the Ramaniya. They are all very beautiful Bhuja, Bhujanvita, she's adorned with all of these beautiful gold ornaments from the forearm to the upper arm. The next one is a very important nama, Ratna Graiveya Chintaka Lola Mukta Phalanvita. Simple, straightforward meaning for this one. Grivam means neck, and some Graiveya means something that is hanging from the neck. So this means ornaments that are worn, all the necklaces that mother is wearing. So what kind of necklaces? Ratna, all the precious stones. Chintaka is in olden days, even my our mothers or grandmothers would have had that kind of jewelry where there are leaf shaped ornaments that that women used to wear. So there is a ratna jewelry or made of precious stones. There are all these leaf shaped jewelry that she's wearing, necklace that she's wearing. Lola mukta, hanging or dangling pearls. Phalanvita, she gives all the desires, like she fulfills desires. That's the straightforward meaning that we can take. Now, there are multiple inner meanings that get taken from this one. So, the simpler one, easier to understand, is there are three kinds of adhikaris that we keep talking about, the adhama, madhyama, and uttama adhikaris. Lolas are the desirous people, and the same thing that we were talking about in Vishnu Sahasranam as well. So somebody with a lot of earthly desires, those are lolas. And then graiveyaka chintakas, depending on how you do anvayam for this sloka, because in Sanskrit you can actually put any word in front of the other and you can make a sentence out of it. So graiveyaka chintakas means worship from throat. From Graivekam, they're just doing external pujas, rituals, chanting, and all of that, and nothing from inside the heart. Or maybe there is some component of heart to it too, but the desire is not for worldly things, nor is it the desire for getting liberation and the highest Atma Jnanam. So these are the Madhyama Adhikaris. And muktas are the uttama adhikaris, where they are looking for Atma Jnanam and liberation or freedom. And phalanvita means she is the fruit to be obtained but by any of these three categories of devotees. That's the second meaning. The third one is how from kantham flows mantras or nadam, and we will look at how pashyanti, madhyama, vaikari, all of that will come in the future nama, so I won't go into them now. But from kantam, the nadam arises as a mantra. And when japa is done, mantra ratnam is the graiveyam. And how do you do the japam? With chintana, which is with thought, controlled thought on the mother. And lola mukta, or with asakti. In this case, lola is taken as asakti or very enthusiastic way with chintana on the mother. Those who do japa through graiveyam, so these people, what do they get? Mukta phalanvita, they will get mukti, is how the third meaning works out. I know of a fourth meaning which is on sadhana. So the way it is the first step of sadhana. When somebody is about to start meditation, they are the lolas, which is again lola muktas. The other meaning for lola is hanging or dangling. So their mind is wavering and it is not concentrating on anything. Then graiveyas, then it becomes like more of I have to chant out loud. And then chintakas, then it becomes more of the thought oriented or focused on mind, concentrated mind. So that kind of sadhana, different variations or levels of sadhana, when people pass through those variations, they get mukta phalanvita, though they get mukti, is the fourth meaning. Are we clear on this nama? Can we go to the next one? Let me know when anything is overwhelming.
Guruji, I'm getting a little bit confused between the adhikaris and the kutams.
Okay.
Using it interchangeably, and I was getting a bit confused.
Okay. So kutams are only part of the Panchadasi mantra, right? In the mantra, 15 character syllabled mantra, there are 3 sections of that mantra. And the first section has 5 syllables, second section has 6 syllables, and the third section has 4 syllables. Those are the kutas. And okay, one important thing that I have to mention, Lalita Sahasranamam has, to my knowledge, 6 variations of how you can interpret different namas. One is Devi's body as a physical form. Then you can think about it from a yantra standpoint, exactly what's in Lalita Sahasranamam. Each and every namam has an interpretation for the yantra, because the yantra is nothing but Devi herself. Then the third is the Jagat, which is the universe. Again, everything in the Sri Chakram is also the universe. This is exactly like the Big Bang and how the universe was formed and how we merge back when there is an unmanifestation process or the pralaya process that happens. So every one of these can be connected to Sri Yantra. Then there is the mantra aspect. Everything goes back and connects it to various levels of Sri Vidya mantras, the Bala mantra, and we will see various other mantras will come, the Varahi, the Shama, Matangi, Tiraskarani, Ashwaruda, like many of those namas will come. So we will talk about those at that time. But primary mantras being the Bala, Panchadasi, Shodashi, and Purna Diksha Mahavakyas. So it connects, most of these namas connect to mantras. So what I think I'm doing is, the straightforward meaning is, because we have seen from Chidagnikundam, mother has manifested herself, and everybody is now awestruck looking at the mother and her form. So the first meaning that comes is the physical form, because that's what is being described. But there are other interpretations to mantra, to yantra, and this process of the sadhana and everything. As we go into a few more namas, we'll get into tantra aspect of things, where it is about how to do sadhana. That will also come. So we'll briefly touch on those aspects of it. So where there are various levels of meanings, and we could just write a whole book just taking one aspect of this and say, okay, I just want to write a book about Lalita Sahasranamam, all the 1000 namas only related to Sri Yantram, and I won't touch anything else. I won't talk about the mantra, I won't talk about Devi's physical body, I won't talk about any other aspects. Did that make sense? That's why you will hear me going back and forth between the 3. But if that is confusing, if we want to stick to only one aspect or 2 aspects, I can do that as well. I'm trying to squeeze in as many aspects as I can, which may be overwhelming.
No, that's fine. I just couldn't differentiate it. That's all.
Okay.
You to your format, and I also joined late, so maybe that may be also the reason.
Okay. So the kutas are for the mantra, and adhikaris are the us, bhaktas, who have different levels of adhikaritvam, is what we call it, like different levels of our what we are seeking from the rituals, the pujas, what we are learning, the knowledge that we are seeking. Based on that, our level of bhakti is different. So one is more of a, I shouldn't use the word because I'm commercial too. It's called the commercial bhakti, where I'm saying like, okay, Devi, I'm going to do a puja. If you can, help my son get so and so, or help me get this, or something like that. And that will happen as we live grihastha life. We need some additional shakti and additional power to deal with some problems that are beyond human capability to solve. So we do get her help for that. But there may be some others who are just, as I was giving my example, when I was a child, I just wanted a pen, and I actually prayed to Bhagwan, okay, you make me do this, so you get my brother to give me the pen, and I will do 10 pradakshinas. It was just a simple business exchange. If you do this, I will do this for you. So that is the adhikaritvam of how elevated our bhakti is different than the kutas themselves. The kuta is part of the mantra. And mother is nothing but the mantra herself, or the yantra, or the Shakti. So when we talk about mother's physical form, we are saying the first part of her body until the neck is the Vagbhava If I said neck was part of the second one, until the neck is the Vagbhava. From neck to the lower body, the torso is the neck second Kamaraja Kutam, and the lower body is the Shakti Kutam. So there are similarities in all of these aspects, and I hope I'm not overwhelming everybody by just comparing all of these things at the same time.
What's
And
the
the,
last?
so,
What's the last two of the 6 interpretations that you were talking about? Body, yantra, jagat, mantra.
Jiva are ourselves. So Devi, physical body, mantra, yantra, jagat, jiva, and Shakti. And the Shakti that is within us, and the cosmic Shakti.
Thank you.
And I have to be.
Sudha,
Go ahead, sorry.
no, I want to thank you. I like what you're doing, like giving us snippets of every different forms. It gives me a wholesome picture. So please continue to do that. Thank you.
And all of this may not get into, it doesn't get into my head. That's why I keep using the notes, right? Yeah, I'm not a sarvagnya or sarvagnani or anything like that. So that's why I keep saying I'm no guru. I'm just somebody who made notes, and somebody who thankfully have received this knowledge from gurus due to Guru Parampara. And I'm just, sharing with you all what I have written down or what I have learned. Um, what's important to know is that understanding all of these concepts, at least what we will get out of this is understanding Mother or Bhagwan or Ishvara, in whatever name you call it, the magnanimity of the existence, and how we are, despite being a speck of dust in the whole universe, we are such an important piece of the whole universe's existence, and how important we are to Bhagavan. Just like how we think of him, he is thinking of us the same way, because he has so many things that he wants us to do. Think about that. He has activities planned for us, and that's why in Vedas suicide is such a big problem. It's shunned so much that Bhagavan has given you a certain tasks to complete, and you suddenly say, yeah, you know what, I don't want to do these things, I want to quit. So that's not allowed. Actually, it's against Shastras, and divorce is against Shastras because of the same aspect. You are supposed to have fulfilled a certain dharma and with a certain family members, and there are karma bandhas to tie such a family, and there are aspects of work that you are expected to do, whatever that may be, and using that same kind of smile, and whatever needs to be done, whether it is husband to wife or wife to husband. I am not saying which one way, but those are interesting, important aspects of everybody that is connected. It's not just spousal relationships. It's about the other side of the family, the children that are part of this whole equation, everything. So at least what we will understand is Bhagavan is not, what we pray to as a photo or a Shivalingam or anything. I hope that's what, at least the minimum thing that we can derive from this, and lot more than that, and maybe it'll become a sadhana, and we will continue to progress. It's a journey. Any other thoughts before we proceed to the next one? Should I do it a little slowly? So if you're making notes, looks like some of you are making notes. I'm not sure if I'm going fast. Are you able to make notes, or is the space okay?
I felt today was a little fast, Guruji.
Okay. So that's what I thought. And please stop me if you ever feel that way, because ultimately the hope is that we will all learn and gain. And as we were talking about in Vishnu Sahasranamam, it's only time that we can spend, and I'd rather that time not be wasted and you gain something out of this. So we will take it a little slowly from next week. I'll make sure Like, I get excited when I'm talking about the mother or Bhagwan, Ishvara, and I tend to just squeeze in as many details as possible so I can provide all of that over to you. Just pass on as much as possible before I leave the universe, or not the universe.
Guruji, I mean a small doubt which I had when you talked about a relationship. You spoke about the spousal relationship and all that. But actually, I think what you're talking about relationship, if I'm more clear and more broader on a broader aspect, to saying that's all human relationship
Correct. All human
as we go through
relationships.
in our journey.
Correct. But the only thing I'm trying to emphasize, Lataji, is if there are 7.2 billion people on Earth, we are connected to some 100, 200, 1,000 people. And why not with somebody else in that 7.2 billion? Think about the proportional, the proportional importance of the people that surround you and why them, and how you treat each one of those interactions, because that person is exactly a copy of what Bhagavan is and no different than him. So what would be your way of interacting with that person? Wouldn't you be interacting just like how much reverence you have when you're praying in front of an altar? That's what I'm talking about. Exactly. Every interaction, no matter what.
So that means in our journey, different types of people and on different aspects and different this one platform, we are treating everybody on the same thing as though they are like in our day to day. We are going along with them.
Correct. And it's always like you will start noticing that what you're sending out as waves will come back to you as the similar waves. There is no difference in what you will get back. What you give is what you get.
So it's like a law of attraction.
Correct.
So I have one question.
Sure.
So when
Taditi.
you become a politician, you become a politician because of the bandhas you have with all those people, or when you become politician, we are creating more bandhas.
We are depending on what kind of a politician we become, right? So when we talk about Gandhiji, he's also a political figure, but what he was striving, and if we know in his ashram, so Vaishnava Janato used to play almost every day as the first morning prayer, reminding everybody what we are supposed to be. And in many of his activities, we noticed he's trying to follow the lifestyle of Bhagavad Gita. He might have done things that not everybody accepts, and I don't know any of those. I personally look up to him quite a bit. So it's about the recent category of politicians that we see, especially the Andhra CM, thinking about he was convicted for 100,000 crores and was jailed for a bit and then got elected to become the CM. Can you believe that? Yeah. So think about what you come to do is based on greed, again all those Arishad Vargas, and how much all of those get built up, and whether the more malinam that is forming in our heads. And in Sri Vidya we talk about three malas, or three kinds of impurities that stick to us, and I'll talk about those at some point. Those are not part of I don't think we talk about that in Lalita Sahasranamam, but I'll mention those. There are three kinds of impurities that get stuck to us. The more accumulation of all of this impurity around us, the less we are able to listen to our consciousness. And if that there is a disconnect between our consciousness from inside, will keep telling us you shouldn't be doing that, that's a wrong thing to do, whether you're just stealing $1,000 from a poor person or 100,000 crores from the whole nation. You're not supposed to be doing that. It's the same consciousness that is working in all of us, telling us the same things, but some people to choose to do that sort of stuff. And somebody could just go take a flight and run into two buildings and kill a lot of people, versus some others may choose to do some smaller minor things, and some others may try to start avoiding those things. As the more clearer we try to remove the impurities in our mind, the more we'll be able to listen to consciousness and more dharmic path we can follow. And the more we follow, the more clearer it will become, to the degree where it will become so transparent that we and consciousness are not any different. So that's where the Aikyam comes into picture.
And the three aspects of mother you talked about earlier, Maha Kameshwari, Maha
Mahavajreshwari and Mahabhagamalini.
Bhagamalini. And you said the first one is Chin, and what's the second and the third one?
So we only look at it as this one, but Chin is the only thing that I have primarily heard. But we say, it's mother's face and Chin is the bottom part of the apex, but it is usually the triangle that we talk more about because we do more of the yantra puja than mother as a physical form. So I'd have to get back to you on that. I don't quite know.
Okay. Thank you.
Some Any other thoughts before we conclude? And I will, if everybody is okay with it, because I don't know how many of you are pressed for number of weeks that we can do this, because we could go on and on learning about mother for the rest of our lives. And I don't have a specific deadline in mind on when I want to finish these sessions. I don't think from that perspective. So I don't have any specific committed deadline. But if you feel like, maybe we should finish this by end of the year, before December, then, or before, I don't think we can finish it before Navaratris. But if there is anything like that, let me know so I can concise the what we are learning into a little more crisper, then going into more deeper meanings. Or if we want to not have a deadline and we say we have some time, even if you're learning 50 namas, you're learning it more deeper, that's also fine with me. It's all about how you all want me to utilize your time to give you what I know. Less about me, more about you.
Please set your own pace.
Thank you, Jai Ramanji. That is very assuring. That you're not bored.
No, no. Not at all. Every
This
minute
is real.
every minute is
I really,
interesting
Hariom,
and
I think I'm going to take advantage of your time and be here as long as possible to learn. That's
Thank
my
you.
goal.
Thank you, Malaji. Appreciate that. Jai Ramanji, you wanted to say something?
every minute is elevating.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
too.
That's what
Whatever
I,
you say, we are enjoying, Guruji.
every second, like even hearing the passion in you, that
Yeah,
is itself motivating. So I really
exactly.
love the deep meaning and the way you're doing. I'm in no rush to just simply complete. I love the way I'm able to absorb and visualize. I think, thank you very much for that. I'd like to continue doing this. I have no deadline for this. The best thing is to learn the process as much clearly as possible rather than just, learning. So
Yeah.
thank you.
At some point, I'm hoping, after, I don't know when, just like how we did, suddenly we thought, we'll do Prana Pratishtha process and we've learned about Prana Pratishtha. I also want to do, whenever mother thinks I should do it, I want to talk about Sri Yantra and explain the positions and some of that, sadhana aspects as well. So I hope I will get to it. So that's very assuring. So thank you so much for that. For me, it's like, how best can I utilize, give the benefit of your time, as time is very valuable for everybody.
And Guruji also said that as you're teaching us the Lalita Sahasranama, you will be also telling us about Sri Chakra, because that's also imbibed in that when we are going through the slokas.
Correct, exactly. So when the moment the chin came up, I remembered the three aspects. This is where we say Maha Kameshwari, Maha Vajreshwari, Maha Bhagamalini. So that's the kind of learning. Like, I think I'll bring small little pieces here and there, and then I'll most likely be able to do a one whole session just on understanding the Sri Chakram itself.
That will be very good, very informative.
Yeah. So
Knowledge.
whenever mother permits to do that.
Let
That's
mother
great.
decide the deadline.
Sorry, what is that, Satiji? You want mother to?
Let mother decide the deadline, I'm saying.
Sounds good. Awesome. So any other comments, any other questions before we conclude?
I think this
Just stick to your format, Guruji. I mean, we are motivated to read Brihadarani and other things you mentioned. You said, oh, I should read that. So it's motivating us to learn Taitra Upanishad or see what it is. At least, Google and see, okay, what is Taitra Upanishad about?
Yeah, at some point, I'm thinking, I hope, I'll, if mother permits, to take early retirement in like 2 years, hopefully. So I want to do all the Upanishad classes, and there are quite a few texts. I want to start with Rudram, explanation of Rudram. Chanting, a lot of people chant, and not necessarily all correctly, but many people chant. But a fewer people seem to be knowing what the deeper meanings are. And I have to be very honest to say, the 6 aspects of Lalita Sahasranama we were talking about, there is no one book that combines all of this, and this is based on a lot of different sources, and I have to put things together based on my notes from here and there, and that's the thing, based on my notes is how I'm trying to explain it. That's why kind of feels like I want all of this in an order. At some point, somebody has to do that work of giving all the known aspects. There are so many unknown aspects of this. Vedanta is a bit easier, therefore Vishnu Sahasranamam is very much Vedanta. There's a lot of work that was already done and very logically put together, because our Shankaracharya parampara, starting from Gaudapada Acharya, it's quite logical and it's beautiful. When it comes to Tantra, a lot of focus went into sadhana, doing actions and rituals and learning, chanting, and all of that. But I feel it's still a little bit, there could be a better way to put all of this together. So that's what I'm hoping to do in these classes. And at some point, I hope, somebody will do that for us.
Guruji, I was thinking today I should tell you, after we finish this, can we do Rudram, and you were telling, when time permits. I told you read my mind.
Yeah.
You know what? The other thing is, doing the classes in the evening also, the nuances when you're chanting, right now, I don't know about others, I'm speaking for myself. I'm able to see, where you have to emphasize and things like that. So it's really helping us. Thank you so much.
That's fantastic. And slowly, you will start, listening to those vibrations. The moment you actually listen to your heart and the vibrations in you when you do those Mahapranas and some of those concepts, then you're elevating really well. That's a big signal. Okay, so we will conclude here for the day. And by the way, on July 4th, I have a one full day long puja that I'm attending. So I wouldn't be able to take the class. So I'll check with you. I generally don't like to cancel the classes. I hate to do that. So I'll propose other times if anybody is available. Otherwise, we'll skip that week and we'll do the following week. Okay. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ लोका समस्ता सुखिनो भवन्तु Sarvam Shri Paradevatarpanamastu. Thank you so much for your time. We'll catch up.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank
See you
you.
in the evening.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Guruji.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Mahoday.
Thank
Have a
you.
good weekend.
Can you also add me to the WhatsApp group, because I'm not in that group?
Oh, you're not in that? Okay. Are you able to text me? I'm trying to.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Do you know my number, or no? Should I
Yeah,
note
I
down
do.
your?
I
Okay,
do.
perfect. I'll add you to the group.
Thank you, Sriji.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks you, Jay Ramanji. Thank you.